Hello and welcome back to the second video in this FXR build series with my 1988 FXRS. See my dog in the back. Last video I sort of disassembled the front end, the headlights on this, and was trying to detangle the mess that had been made by the previous owner who installed a different turn signal unit on it. I made good progress and have actually gotten the new bars and risers on, so that's where we're going to pick up this video today. I'll talk a little bit about what I did to fix the wiring. It's not totally done yet. I gotta still put everything back together. That's probably what I'll do in this video, is actually get the controls attached and maybe test that the turn signals work. I don't have a turn signal relay yet. I ordered one. That was just yesterday and it hasn't gotten in yet. Unfortunately, it's not going to be here until the weekend. So I should still be able to test the turn signals. They won't flash, but I'll be able to push the button and hopefully it'll turn on. I might be getting ahead of myself. Maybe I won't even make it that far in this video. We'll have to see. But ultimately, I'd like to get the controls, including the throttle and clutch and brake and everything, mounted and back on and connected up in the headlight bucket. So it's almost ready to ride. I do need to buy some hardware because if you recall in the last video, if you haven't watched the last video, please check it out. In order to get the controls off, specifically the front brake perch and electronics on the right side, I had to drill out the bolts because the heads were stripped off. So I haven't got a chance to go pick up replacements. At the moment, I don't have another car to be able to go get those replacements because my wife has the car at work. And I can't really drive this yet. So we'll see. Maybe I'll be able to just like tape some things on and at least make it to the hardware store later. I doubt it, but we'll see how far we get. Anyway, just give me a minute and I'll show you where I'm at. Okay, so let's take a look at the progress I made. So right off the bat, you notice I have the risers on just kind of mocked up. I don't have the top clamp tightened down. I do have the risers tightened down. I have my new alloy or bushings put on. Sorry I didn't film that. I got excited last night. And I've already run the controls through the bars. These bars have internal wiring. I threw the throttle tube on here just to see how it would look. These risers don't seem to have a section to run the wires through. They have this hole on the outside of them, which is bizarre. I don't really know what that's for. I thought it was to run the wires through, but I would assume that would be on the inside, and it's really small anyway, so no idea. I'll have to get on Forbidden Moto's website and see what that's actually intended for. And these wouldn't fit through there anyway, so these are going to end up just being like tied probably to the back of the risers, so it's nice and clean. But what I had to do for each one of the sides of the controls is go through and repair these wires, because as you recall in the last video, everything was sort of spliced together. So there was a bunch of sections in these wires where the sheathing was pulled back and just kind of exposed. So I pulled both these out, soldered a couple of them, and put shrink tubing on. So these are solid. I mean, they look horrible because they've been extended at some point to put those ape hangers that were on it. But for the most part, everything's intact. Then, on the headlight bucket side, I went through and, let me see if I can get this a little bit better. There we go. I went through on that main harness, as I said I was going to do, and all the sheathing that was pulled back. I depinned this and put shrink tubing on. I also corrected where that pin was. This blue wire was located in the wrong place. I actually used the wiring diagram to track that to the back of the bike. So I corrected that. So pretty much everything's ready to go. Everything's tied up in here. There's a few wires on this main 12-pin harness that are just free, like specifically this one brown and one violet wire, which are going to connect to the left and right turn signal buttons, essentially. And I'm going to have to solder these back onto the cables here on the controls, because those were actually cut. So I'm going to run all that in. I'll have to solder these together. I'm going to do it right, put shrink tubing on it, and it should be kind of a permanent fixture. So that's sort of the plan for this video, is to get most of that button back up. I still have not had an opportunity to really think about where I want to put my turn signals, because they are really small. I may just add them to the side of the headlight bucket, like drill little holes in the side, just a little tiny hole. I might just drill little holes in the side here and actually have them attached to the headlight bucket, and that'd be great too, because then all the wires can stay central and really kind of out of the way, instead of having them hang off, you know, the fork. Again, I'll have to kind of play around with that to see where I get. I haven't had an opportunity to really think that through yet. And I did, again, using the wiring diagram, I did figure out where the front headlight wires originally were and where they need to go, and I have them labeled here with that tape. So that's where I'll be hooking the new turn signals back up to once I get that far. So that's kind of where I'm at. It's looking good. I like the stance of it so far. I put the seat back on so I can sit on it and just kind of see how it feels. It's much more comfortable. Looking forward to actually getting it all kind of buttoned back up. So I'm going to take a couple minutes and try to get these wires routed and run back into the headlight bucket, and I might start plugging some of that stuff in. So I'll show you once I get a little further. Alright, I've made some excellent progress here on the FXR. I have been able to clean up all of this wiring and hook up all the controls again and tuck them in real nice. It's there's still a lot of wires, that's the way it is. Hopefully there's room to fit my LED headlight in there. For now, I have the original headlight hooked up, and I have where the turn signal relay would go. I just have it jumpered here until I get one of those. But everything went back together. All my wires are run. Of course, I'll tidy all this up. This is really just to get things out of the way and mock everything up. But here's what I got. Turn it on, and I have headlight. If I hit the bright switch, I have brights. I have horn, and you'll notice for turn signals, if I push the button, turn signals will turn on. They won't flash because I don't have a flasher, but that tells me that they're working. I don't have front turn signals on. You'll notice the brake light is stuck on, and that's just because there is a little switch up on the handlebars here that only works like when you have all the controls completely hooked up. It's this little button. But if you look at the back there, if I push that button in, the brake lights turn off. It works in reverse, so when you push your handle in, the button comes out and your brake lights turn on. That's actually an improvement. Before, the front brakes didn't actuate the stoplight. And then if I actuate the rear brake, I again have brake lights. So everything is working. All the electronics are working, with the exception of needing the flasher relay to actually make the blinkers flash. Battery's hooked back up. So I'm golden. What I'll have to do yet, and I may do a little bit of that in this video, is try to figure out where I'm going to put the front turn signals. Actually, a really good place for them would be, I hate to drill things up, but this is not like a unique piece, but maybe I'll add the front turn signals here, although this has a curve to it so that they wouldn't sit flat. Still haven't figured that out. I need to play around with it. And then I need to wire the front turn signals in, and they wire up behind the headlight. So everything's good so far. Everything seems to be working, and it's back to original. With the Badlands unit removed, so definitely some progress made. I'll update you if I do anything else. Alright, to close out this video, sorry I'm not going to put the phone on the gimbal, I don't feel like going and hooking it up. I just wanted to update you on where we got. So what I have done, well, first off, I added the controls and the grips on the bike and hooked up the throttle cables. I'm going to have to take the throttle cables back off because I don't like how I rerouted them. I routed them through from the handle through the fork, but like down here, and the clutch cable's up here, and I kind of want them to run together. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to probably take those off and fix that, which is kind of a big pain in the butt. Oh well. Also, I had to take off the back clamps for the controls and stick these on a belt sander and grind them down, because when I put them on, and even if I tightened these up as hard as I possibly could, and this is probably why these were stripped out, they weren't clamping and holding tight onto the bars. So I don't know if someone modified these to fit on those other bars or whatever the case was, but I just had to take some material off the back side of this clamp, and on both sides now it's fitting fine. So got my grips on, and just kind of, nothing's really totally tight, it's just sort of mocked up and fitted. I don't think I'm gonna run the cables on the back sides of the risers because it's real hard to bend these and make it look nice. So I might just get some of the material that's used for like looms and just loom these straight down and just go with that. As far as the turn signals go, I decided to just return those bullet style turn signals because there isn't really a good way to mount them to where they look good and not stupid. I mocked them up with those original mounts and it just looked dumb. I don't know, it looked dumb. I decided not to do it. On my Dyna, I got some of those LED turn signals that mount here underneath your mirrors and actually just like the mirror actually connects it. So I ordered some more of those. Hopefully I have enough. Oof, I didn't think about that. I hope I have enough bolt underneath here for that all to fit. Okay, well, we'll cross that bridge when the time comes. I'm sure I can make it work because I can get a different nut on here instead of that acorn nut. Well, anyway, so I ordered different lights, LED turn signals. Those are going to go here under the bars. So that's what I'm going to do. Other problem I had, I got everything stuffed in as hard as I possibly could, and I don't even have the flasher unit in here yet. And the LED light I bought, which is, again, just an Amazon deal because they all work just as fine. I've had these before and never had any trouble with them. This light is, like, really deep, and I didn't know that. I didn't even think about it. But if I stuff this in that headlight bucket, even as hard as I possibly can, it just barely will go in there and allow me to stick it back together. So that's going back as well. I found a different LED headlight on Amazon that's only about 1 inch thick. Unfortunately, it's coming from China, and so it's going to take like a couple weeks to get here. That's okay. I'll put the actual halogen light back in temporarily, but with that 1 inch headlight, I'll have plenty of room, and it won't be all congested, and I don't have to worry about any wires getting hot or whatever the case is. So that's the plan. Original headlight's going to go back on. New LEDs for the front, LED turn signals are going to go on here, and I'll wire them up. Then I'll be able to put this all back together and tighten everything down and like be done with the front. And everything will flash as well. Let me tell you about the back side of the FXR. And kind of the trouble I ran into. Where's my screwdriver? So, I'm used to like modern Sportsters and Dynas. I'm trying to do this and film at the same time. Getting the LED brake lights with the integrated turn signals, and they just sort of like fit right on the mount. That's not really how an FXR tail light works, and I don't think it's FXR specifically, but 80s and 90s Harley. This is different than on a modern Harley. In fact, I can show you because I bought one from a modern Harley. Like an idiot, and I'm not going to use it, unfortunately. But so a more modern Harley has this type of mount on the back of it, and everything kind of plugs in here, and the main cable comes from the back and plugs in there. I didn't realize that this wasn't how the older Harleys are, where this is just literally a mount with a bulb. So problem is, if you get a modern LED taillight thing like this, it doesn't fit. Well, granted, I know I have the bulb on here, but it doesn't fit on here because there's so much metal hanging out. It doesn't fit. So, in my infinite wisdom and hurry to like figure out a solution, I ordered a more modern taillight mount from Amazon or from eBay, and it was cheap. It was like $10 and $10 shipping. It's paid like $20 for this. Thinking, okay, well, that'll be an easy solution. I'll just pop this on there, and then the taillight will work. No, it doesn't really work that way. When you pull this mount off, the fender is actually like bumped out. There's this like bracketry underneath this that sticks out into here. And this would not ever fit on that unless you cut that bracketry off the fender. That is a lot of work and really, really difficult. So I'm going to nix this. Unfortunately, I wasted money on it. So I started playing around with this again, and I realized, man, it almost fits on there. It's just really close. The only reason it doesn't fit is because this metal right here where the bulb goes protrudes just enough. So if I'm going to hack anything up, and I know there's probably purists out there that are rolling their eyes and just like, how dare you hack something up? But I mean, this is a normal piece they used in any sort of Harley back in the 80s. It's not like anything special. I'm going to take an angle grinder and cut off this metal and smooth it out, and that will allow me to mount my modern tail light on here just fine. That's the easiest solution. That's what I'm going to do. Then, of course, I'll have to address wiring, because the wiring on a modern taillight has those modern plugs, and this does not. In fact, the wires don't even unclip from the back of this. They're attached directly to it. Someone already, again, did some hacky stuff and ran turn signal wires underneath the fender. It looks so stupid. So I'm going to have to take those wires from the turn signals and the wire from the back of this and pull it out underneath here and figure out how I'm going to connect it to the more modern tail light. I have some generic like Molex type connectors, so I may just cut these off and install a new type of connector. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like a 5-pin connector that'll just fit back there. So we'll see what happens. So these are coming off, and this is going to have to get hacked, chopped up. But again, you won't see it because it'll be under here. So that will complete my handlebars and LEDs all around. Yeah, so sort of phase 1, which is basic styling, seat, risers, handlebars, LED, headlight, LED, turn signals, pegs. That will all be completed. So in my next video, I will install the LED turn signals for the front, get those wired up, and get this attached completely. I will not be installing the LED headlight because that's going to take like a month to get, so I'll put the old headlight back in. That'll be done. And then I will show you what I'm going to do back here to make the modern taillights work on this bike. To many people's dismay, I'm sure, but that's fine. It's my motorcycle. So that's what I'll address in the next video. So I hope you like this one. Hope it's informative. Feel free to engage with me in the comments. I'll answer as much as I can. Not that I really have much knowledge to share other than what I've just discussed in these videos. So, but I hope that you like it. Please subscribe, comment, share. I would really like for this effort I'm putting in these videos to like actually do something for people. I'd like to know if anyone's actually watching these videos. So if you can give me a thumbs up and let me know, that'd be really cool. Because if no one's watching, I'm not going to take the time to film it. Because I really like just working on the bike. I just like to share the knowledge while I'm doing it. So appreciate it. Have a good one. By the way, I came up with a channel name. You probably saw it at the beginning of the first video. The channel's called FXR. Because if you worked on an FXR before, you probably said ARG a couple times when you ran into stuff like that. That was unexpected. So anyway, share it. Appreciate it. Have a good one. See you in the next video.